89% of agents that we polled do not have a buyer's presentation. What they do is they say, oh, let's go meet at the house, or, oh, let's go talk about what you're looking for. And that's fine, but it's kind of backwards. And especially with what's going on with NAR. We want to ask our prospects better questions. And what we need to do is we need to educate them on what we do, what they're looking for, the processes involved, the ramifications of doing it on your own, the pitfalls of doing it on your own. And the way we do that is by having great frames so that we can have structured conversations. But we can't do that if we're winging it. Once you get better at booking appointments, once you get better at your buyer consultation, your days will change. But right now, you want to get the reps in. You want to go as many buyer consultations as you can so that when this lawsuit hits and all the ramifications of all the changes in the MLSs and commissions go away for buyers, you can prevent yourself from not showing value. I wanted to share something with you guys, and this is from my mentor, Sharon, right? My mentor, Sharon, the president of Real Brokers. I have a lot of notes from his latest presentation, and we've been working on this for a while together. And in 2023, Q1, 66% of the population owned a home, but this is crazy. First-time home buyers declined 26%. So if that was your niche, that's bad, right? The majority of people who purchased their home, right, they got 100% list price. So if you say you're a great negotiator, right? If that's your claim to fame, I'm a great negotiator, but you're not actually negotiating the prices. You're not actually like negotiating the price down. How are you actually negotiating? These are things that we have to think about, right? A lot of agents don't know these stats. Another interesting stat that we have here is that 28% of people in 2023 paid more than list price. 28% of people paid more than list price. So what does that actually mean? That means that the market, right, is different than it's been for a long time. What are we going to do, right? Well, we have to figure this out. So let's just jam here for a second. Our job, right, and this is an important frame. Our job is to find you the home that you want, the price that you want, and the terms that you want, right? Which means that we're not just going to be looking on Zillow or Redfin, right? Our job is much more. And the process we use is to find you every property that's available in the market. And they're going to say, wait, what does that mean? Right? So some of the questions that you can ask, right? The big question is, how are we going to find you the seller who wants to sell you their home, right? Because they haven't thought of this. They haven't thought of this. And what we want to start labeling things of is the average typical agent does what we call show and search. The average typical agent does what we call show and search, right? They show you homes and then they help you find the new one on the MLS. And that's about it. And they're like, yeah, that sounds about right. We want to show them that we bring them an unfair advantage because of our systems and processes. Now, I'm not going to go through all this stuff right here. I do think that it's really important that we dial in the 3 most agreements that govern a real estate transaction. And I'm just going to lay it out for you. So you're going to say to the client, now you're not going to say Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, because if you keep saying their name over and over again, it becomes weird. But you're going to say, hey, you guys, there's 3 major agreements that govern a real estate transaction. Would it be okay if I spent a few minutes here? Because I believe that this to be one of the most important parts of buying or selling a home in today's market. Could I unpack those for you? And they're going to go, yes. Now I would have a manila folder, right? I would have a manila folder and I'm going to have my agreements in there. I'm going to have my purchase and sale agreement in there. And I'm also going to have a calendar so that we can do what's called a calendar close and build them a timeline at the end. So the first agreement I'm going to pull out is what? It's the listing agreement. And it's going to say, now this is the document that creates representation between the seller of the house and their agent, the listing agent. This is what allows the listing agent to represent and protect and negotiate against the buyers in the marketplace, right? We need to start seeding, right, that the listing agent works for the seller. And yes, the buyer can go direct to the listing agent, whose job is it to protect the buyer at this point? Nobody's. Whose job is to make sure that the seller gets the maximum price? The listing agents. So we start to see this. You guys, this is like the first 3, 4, 5 minutes into the conversation. Now, the second agreement is what we call the buyer's agreement or the buyer's agency, whatever you guys call it. I just call it the buyer's agreement, right? We have the listing agreement. We have the buyer's agreement. It just flows. It just sits in their brain better. This is agreement that the home buyer, like you, signs with an agent and essentially says, hey, Vikram, now I'm going to use my name, right? First, it's neutral. Now it's more personal, vague than clarity. Hey, Vikram, go represent me. Find me a home that I want at the price that I want and the terms that I want. So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, this is what you guys are going to use when choosing your agent to negotiate against the listing agent for your best interests. And they're going to go, oh, okay. Right. So we're already talking about the agreements right up front. Now, sometimes you're going to get people right out the gate that are going to have some questions about it. No problem. Not a problem. Write them down. Have a notebook next to you. Write them down and say, by the time we're done, if we haven't covered all this, I'll make sure to leave a few minutes at the end to answer any of your questions. Is that cool? They're going to go, yes. Great. Now the third agreement, right? When the first two are in place, the third agreement goes in place, and this is called the purchase and sale agreement. And this is what binds the entire transaction together, right? This is what binds the entire transaction together. This is what a buyer and a seller, right? This is what a buyer presents to a seller. And this is the terms and the price or your offer. Now, we're going to go into further details around this later on. However, this is a contract that once negotiated and signed is going to govern the entire transaction, the timelines, the closing dates, and any further negotiation that needs to happen. Now, this document's super important. And the reason why is because this is what legally binds you. And this is what legally binds your earnest money deposit, right? This is what's going to either keep you protected or this is what's going to make or break the sellers going to the bank with your money, right? You start to lay it out. Now, this agreement's also important, right? Because the listing agent is paid through commissions. The buyer's agent is paid through commissions. The purchase and sale agreement is also represented by a neutral third party, title, escrow, attorneys, whatever, and they actually represent this contract right here, right? So now we told them that the listing is paid, the buyer's agent's paid, and title, escrow, or attorneys are paid. So now they understand that everybody in the transaction gets paid, and now they understand how they get paid, all right? Now, we have a slide that says we want them to think differently, right? So I'm going to have a slide that just says think differently in my presentation. And here's the difference. Before I show them the stats, right? Before I go into all the details, I'm going to show them a stats page. I'm going to say, did you know right now that in San Diego, there's only 3,800 homes on the market? And in fact, based off of what you told me with homes that are 4 bedrooms and 3 baths, any price range, there's only 350. And if we start to look at city by city, neighborhood by neighborhood, what we see is that there's only 15 houses, only 25 houses on the MLS, right? So now we want them to think differently, right? So it's not about where to find a home. It's the standard average agent. That's what we call show and search, right? When they talk to you on the phone, they're going to ask qualifying questions like, what's your budget? What's your time frame? And then they're going to say something like, how many beds and baths? Okay, great. I'll set you up on a drip. And then they're going to start sending you emails and they're going to wait for you to call them. And it's a super interesting concept out there, right? You guys were following along. It's a super interesting concept, but I want you to think bigger about the market and the processes involved. And I'm going to point to my head. So the question we need to ask is, who is going to be selling me a home? Who in this market has the home that's already built? Who in this market already has the new construction? Who in this market possesses what I already want? Because the bigger question isn't, the bigger question is who's going to sell us the home we want? And what we call this is the seller universe. And we're going to break down the seller universe for you into 4 categories so that you can better understand who actually has the home for us to buy. And then you're going to ask for permission to break this down. Do you notice how within the first 10 minutes, though, this is what our students get, section by section, video by video breakdown of our entire process, right? And this is the same presentation on steroids that we use to generate millions and millions of dollars in sales. The question that you have to ask is, are you doing the same thing as every other agent? Or are you doing something differently? Do you see how everything is structured from start to finish? Do you see how we bring up commissions right out the gate? We don't sugarcoat it. We get paid by somebody, and you should get paid by somebody for the amount of work you do. The question isn't just throwing it and verbally vomiting on them. The question is are you able to share and deliver that with the prospect in a fashion that allows them to feel confident about paying you a fee? If you're not, you lose. If you are, you win. If you want a little bit more information about what we do inside the Real Estate Sales Academy and our Trust Report Influence Sales Program, how we're teaching our clients to win the conversation so they can win the deal, just comment me below and me and my team will send you a link with some more information. I hope you guys are out there crushing. I hope you're preparing. I hope you're getting excited for the changes in the industry, because these are exciting times for those that prepare. For the other ones, I don't know what to tell you. But for those of you that prepare now, you are going to dominate and annihilate the market, and I'm excited for you. So I'll see you on the next video. Like, subscribe, comment below, and let's go crush it.